are going to be interpreting in the room that would really help me.
Yep, I'll let you know when I get back to the booth. I'm gonna talk to your console
Because
officer now.
the far side is going to be speaking Spanish.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Hola. Hola. No- ¿Qué tal, Julián? De nuevo, no sé si me escuchan. Ahí, ahora sí escucho. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Me escuchan, Julián? Sí, sí. Ahí me acaban de confirmar que en el room de acá no hay interpretación acá.
Sí, es que lo que nos habían dicho, no, entonces nosotros lo vamos a cubrir con el intérprete que está acá y lo estaríamos en traducción consecutiva.
¿Hay alguna posibilidad de que su intérprete les traduzca a ustedes cuando hablen en español al inglés?
Sí. Lo que ese pedacito lo haremos en consecutivo, entonces las personas que tengan intervenciones aquí en español lo hacen con algunas pausas. O sea, va hablando la persona, pausa, habla el intérprete. Es la única forma que podríamos hacerlo.
Perfecto, sí. Disculpe, nosotros creíamos que había interpretación acá en el room de acá, pero no hay. Entonces, como le dije, va a tener que ser que si por favor su intérprete les traduzca a ustedes cuando hablen en español al inglés también.
Listo, perfecto. Vale,
Perfecto. Entonces, vamos a ir con tiempo uno a la vez y va a tener que ser así, pero no hay problema.
listo, perfecto, no hay
Bueno,
problema.
gracias, gracias.
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 Yeah, no, it's just, I think they hear because the floor is a bit noisy. So
Yeah, it's okay, understandable.
you hear the rumble. It's not for me, actually. So what do we do? I thought it's not working.
Leo, it's working, no?
Okay, then tell me when it's working because it's. So, but if it's working, we start from scratch again, right?
Yes.
Okay, then give me a sign when we reach the point.
Tenemos que empezar. No se puede caminar.
Yes.
Está de técnicos aquí. A ver si el micrófono no está funcionando. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
What you have to do, you have to push and you have to see the red light. It's not the green, but the red
I
light.
did that, but
So it seems it's working now.
can you hear me, Leo? Just checking sound.
Hello, this is the technician in New York. Apologies. Did you ask us a question?
Can you hear me?
We can see and we can hear you. The room is a little echoey, but we can see and we can hear you.
He says he can hear you, but there's a little echo.
So have we turned all the other microphones
Están
on?
apagados.
Okay.
Is there a possibility that we can only just use one microphone for the
Yes.
person that's speaking?
We're checking that, but it seems I have only one microphone on.
Yes.
Okay, understood. Apologies. The meeting is about to start, so I'm going to mute myself. Please stay connected. Thank you.
Apologies for the technical problem. So greetings again from Bogota. The Peacebuilding Commission ambassadorial meeting on Colombia is called to order. Good morning again and welcome to this hybrid Peacebuilding Commission meeting on the occasion of the Peacebuilding Commission visit to Colombia from 24 to 28 of August. Today's interactive session serves as an opportunity to take stock of the BBC visit and discuss the efforts that Colombia has made towards the implementation of the 2016 peace agreement. I thank you all for your attention today, and I want to express my sincere gratitude to our speakers, Mrs. Gloria Cuartas, the Director of the Unit for the Implementation of the Final Peace Agreement, Colombia Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Raul Osende, he's the Deputy Adjutant at Interim and Officer of charge of the United Nations Verification Mission, Ms. Daniela Gonzalez, who is a youth leader, a member of the National School of Youth for Peace and Reconciliation, and finally, Assistant Secretary General for Peacebuilding Support, Elizabeth Beha. Before we move on, I have to inform you that due to technical difficulties, we need to translate the Spanish statements consecutively. We apologize for that. Thank you again for your attention. I will now proceed to the first item of our agenda, which are my opening remarks as chair. Again, we're very happy to have you here at this extraordinary hybrid meeting of the Peacebuilding Commission of Colombia. And I want to thank all of the colleagues who joined us today here in Bogota and in New York. Next to our distinguished speaker, we are joined today by Agustin Zimmermann, President Coordinator at UN, and Ambassador Mendoza, the Acting Vice Minister for Multilateral Affairs. We're also deeply honored for the participation of Ambassador Salabata. She joined us, and we're very grateful for her that she has been with us throughout this visit. Yeah, very grateful for the help of all of you from the Colombian side for making this extraordinary visit a success. This meeting is the conclusion of our visit to Colombia, which, as was mentioned before, took place from the 24th to the 28th of August. The delegation was composed of the Deputy Permanent Representative of Poland, Vice Chair of the Peacebuilding Commission, and the Deputy Permanent Representative of the Russian Federation. We were also joined by several other PBC members through the embassies in Bogota, and they also joined us here in Bogota in this meeting. During the visit, we met with representatives of the Colombian government, local authorities, civil society, peace signatories, and other key actors. They all showed remarkable engagement in working towards the implementation of the 2016 final peace agreement. Today, we wish to share and discuss with you some of the insights that we gained during this visit. The Colombian peace process is a marathon. It is not a sprint. There have been setbacks, challenges remain, but the undeniable achievements demonstrate that the peace process is firmly right on track. Colombian people have very carefully crafted the historic peace agreement, which is not only a government policy, but a key policy of state. It is not optional, and it must be carried forward. Yet its promise will only be fulfilled through the full implementation of the agreement. It cannot be implemented selectively. Every element is interconnected as part of the integral system. This implementation needs full support. During our meetings, all our interlocutors expressed profound gratitude and support and backing of the international community. This commitment must remain unwavering. The time here is of essence. PBC is a long-standing partner for Colombia, and we will continue to maintain this unique partnership. During the visit, we also had the opportunity to see several peace-building fund-supported projects. This gives us first-hand insight into the valuable support that is being provided to the peace process in Colombia, and I have to say it is very much appreciated. The project team emphasized the importance of flexible funding for emerging peace-building needs. Further, we need to work continuously on the long-term sustainability of these efforts, as well as enhanced coordination. Finally, we observed significant progress in the areas of reintegration, land redistribution, and the inclusion of historically marginalized communities. At the same time, we noted persisting challenges, not least the continuation of serious incidents of violence in some parts of the country, which is brutally exemplified by the recent deadly terror attacks in the country, which we strongly condemn, and we send again our sincere condolences. Our visit reinforced the message to us that challenges like insecurity, the influence of the illicit economy, the lagging socio-economic reforms remain pressing issues. Above all, attention to root causes of the conflict that have been unaddressed for decades will be critical for Colombia's commendable efforts to build and sustain peace. And I want to end with what you just said in the last meeting with the foreign minister who was so kind to meet us for a debrief. I think we all conveyed our willingness to be a partner for Colombia in this way ahead, which is a way of a long-term commitment to peace, and it should be on our side also a long-term commitment of support and solidarity. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And with this, I have the pleasure now to invite Oh, so sorry, I mistook my rules here. Thank you again for your attention, and now I have the pleasure to invite Ms. Gloria Cuartas to take the floor and deliver her remarks. And again, we have to do it in a consecutive manner.
Buenos días, estimadas y estimados miembros de la mesa, delegación de la Comisión de Paz de las Naciones Unidas, cuerpo diplomático, colegas de distintas entidades.
Of the Peace Resolution of the United Nations, and these of the different entities.
En nombre del Gobierno de Colombia, extiendo un especial reconocimiento al señor Thomas Danelsen, presidente de la Comisión de Consolidación de la Paz, a la señora embajadora Ana Espignada, a la señora Elizabeth Peña, subsecretaria general de apoyo a la consolidación de la paz. Agradezco también la presencia del señor Raúl Rosende, jefe de la misión de verificación de las Naciones Unidas en Colombia y al Ministerio de Relaciones Exteriores.
On behalf of the government of Colombia, we want to give our special acknowledgement to Mr. Thomas, President of the Commission, Mr. Ambassador Eva Arsigneva, and Mrs. Elizabeth Speha, Under Secretary General of Support to Peace Consolidation. I also thank the presence of Mr. Raúl Rosende, Chief of the Mission of Verification of the United Nations in Colombia and the Ministry of Foreign.
La visita de la Comisión reafirma que la paz se construye en compañía y que el acuerdo final del 2016 sigue siendo una brújula ética y política para nuestro país y el mundo. Agradecemos los más de 60 millones de dólares que se han dispuesto para la paz, de los cuales 30 han sido canalizados a través del Fondo Multidonante de las Naciones Unidas y como gobierno ratificamos nuestro compromiso de consolidar una paz estable que sea referente para el mundo.
The visit of the Commission reaffirms that peace is built in company, and that the final agreement of 2016 is still a compass both ethically and politically for a country in the world. We thank the more than $60 million that have been provided for peace, out of which 30 have been channeled through the multi-donor fund of the United Nations. And as a government, we ratify our commitment of consolidating a long-lasting peace that is a reference for the world.
La ley 2272 del 2022, que dio vida a la política de Estado para la paz total y la seguridad humana, resaltó la implementación del acuerdo como pilar de sostenibilidad para cualquier proceso hacia el futuro. Abrió nuevos diálogos, estableció garantías de no repetición y de seguridad humana y fijó estándares que salvaguardan los derechos de las víctimas a la verdad, la justicia y la reparación integral. Sin embargo, frente a la institucionalidad del acuerdo, estamos confiados que recuperaremos plenamente su arquitectura.
The Law 2272 of 2022 gave life to the state policy of total peace and human security. Highlighting the completion of the agreement as a sustainability foundation for any process in the future, open new dialogues, establish warranties of non-repetition and human security, and set standards that safekeep the rights of the victims to truth, justice, and comprehensive redress. However, concerning the institutionality of the agreement, we believe that it will fully restore its architecture.
En la reforma rural integral Hemos adquirido 640.000 hectáreas para el Fondo de Tierras y redistribuido 250.000 a campesinos, comunidades étnicas, mujeres y firmantes de paz. En los municipios PD, la pobreza multidimensional bajó del 39% en el 2018 a 24% en el 2024, con inversiones superiores a 17 billones de pesos y más de 7.200 proyectos. Aún así, persisten brechas que requieren soluciones conjuntas en catastro multipropósito, jurisdicción agraria, formalización de la tierra, infraestructura social y productiva para impulsar el acceso a los mercados.
In the comprehensive rural reform, we have acquired 640,000 hectares for the land fund and redistributed 250,000 to farmers, ethnic communities, women and peace signatories. In the 18 municipalities, multidimensional poverty went down from 39% on 2018 to 24% in 2024, with investment over 17 trillion pesos and more than 7,200 crores. Even so, there exist some gaps that require joint solutions in multi-purpose cadastre, agricultural jurisdiction, land formalization, social and productive infrastructure in order to foster the access to markets.
En participación política y seguridad, hemos impulsado el pacto político nacional para sacar la violencia de las urnas. Se reactivaron 6 de las 7 instancias del Sistema Integral de Seguridad para el ejercicio de la política. En el marco de la Comisión de Seguimiento, Impulso y Verificación, se creó el Programa de Protección Integral mediante el Decreto 638 del 2025. Estas acciones responden a una deuda histórica: proteger liderazgos sociales y garantizar una democracia libre de armas. La sostenibilidad de estos mecanismos es parte de una corresponsabilidad global para la democracia y la paz.
In political participation and security, we foster the political national pact to remove the violence from the ballots. We reactivated 6 out of 7 instances of the comprehensive system of security in the political exercises, CSEC, under the framework of the Commission of Follow-up, Impulse and Verification, CSIBI. We created the Comprehensive Protection Program, PPI, through Decree 638 of 2025. These actions answer to our historical debt to protect social leaderships and guarantee a democracy free of wealth. The sustainability of these mechanisms is part of a global co-responsibility for democracy.
En reincorporación, más de 11.000 firmantes participan en proyectos productivos y comunitarios. Se han priorizado 8 regiones de paz donde se articulan seguridad, infraestructura y reconciliación. La vivienda, la seguridad y la sostenibilidad económica de los firmantes de paz son claves para consolidar la reparación integral y evitar retrocesos.
On reincorporation, over 11,000 signatories participate in productive and communitary projects. We have prioritized 8 peace regions where we articulate security, infrastructure, and reconstruction. Housing security and economic sustainability of the signatories are essential in order to consolidate their comprehensive redressing and avoid setbacks.
El programa de sustitución ha vinculado a más de 99.000 familias a economías legales. Se han firmado 64.000 planes de inversión en 56 municipios con 623 líneas productivas y se relanzó Hacemos la Paz con más de 3.900 personas avanzando hacia las economías que superen economías ilícitas. El fortalecimiento de cadenas económicas como el cacao, el café y el acceso a mercados para el comercio justo es necesario.
The substitution program has added more than 99,000 families to legal economies. We have signed over 64,000 investment plans in 56 municipalities, 623 productive ones. And we relaunched Ren Assembly, README, with over 3,900 people moving away from unlawful economies and towards lawful ones. The strengthening of economic chains like cocoa and coffee and others, and the access to markets and a fair trade is necessary.
Colombia tiene más de 10 millones de víctimas. Más de 45.000 familias han recibido medidas colectivas con apoyo del Fondo de Consolidación de la Paz y del Fondo Multinacional. Hoy impulsamos proyectos restaurativos vinculados a las sanciones propias, a los trabajos y obras reparadoras de la justicia transicional, donde la no repetición es principio rector, como el caso de Palmira en el Valle del Cauca, donde firmantes de paz, militares y víctimas trabajan juntos los temas de búsqueda de personas dadas por desaparecidas. La comunidad internacional es parte indispensable de este proceso de justicia y reparación.
Colombia has over 10 million victims. More than 45,000 families have received collective measures with support from the Peacebuilding Consolidation Fund and the multi-government. Today, we foster restorative projects linked to own sanctions and the works and redressing works of the transitional justice, where non-repetition is paramount. As in the case of Palmira in the Valle, where signatories, militaries, and victims work together in the topics related to the search of people that is disappeared. International community is an essential part of this process of justice and redress.
En el capítulo ético, recordamos que los pueblos no son beneficiarios, sino arquitectos del acuerdo. Su participación en el mecanismo especial de consulta y la instancia especial de alto nivel con los pueblos étnicos, debemos fortalecerlas con más recursos, protección y participación efectiva.
Concerning the ethnic chapter, we remember that the people are not beneficiaries, but instead architects of the agreement. The participation on the special consultation mechanism and the special instance of high level with ethnic people must be strengthened with more resources, protection, and effective participation.
En materia de género, el Plan Marco de Implementación, instrumento de seguimiento al acuerdo, cuenta con más de 80 indicadores, de los cuales 25 ya muestran avances significativos. Además, el Plan de Acción Nacional de la Resolución 1325 refuerza el papel de las mujeres como constructoras de paz, estrategias de economía del cuidado y trabajar en la economía económica de las mujeres sigue siendo fundamental.
Concerning gender, the framework plan for implementation, an instrument following the agreement, has over 80 benchmarks, out of which 25 already show meaningful progress. Also, the National Action Plan of the Resolution 1325 reinforces the role of women as peace builders. Strategies for care economy and working in the economic autonomy of women is essential.
Igualmente, el acompañamiento de la Comisión de Paz y del sistema de las Naciones Unidas puede fortalecerse a través de potenciar su papel y articulación política en torno a nuestros retos de seguridad y garantías. Acompañar a través de visitas que visibilicen a las comunidades apartadas y las acciones del Estado. Construir mecanismos de seguimiento que eleven estas experiencias locales a la agenda global. Agradecemos muchísimo su visita en Colombia.
Also, the accompaniment to the Peace Mission and the system of the United Nations can be strengthened through empowering the role of political articulation concerning the challenges of security and warranty, to accompany through visits that make visible ostracized communities and the actions of the state, to build follow-up mechanisms that raise these local experiences to the local agenda, and support the location of the communities in the peace pedagogy. With this, we want to tell you thank you so much for being with us.
I very much thank Ms. Cuadras for her remarks. And now give the floor to Mr. Hussein. So you have the floor.
Thank you very much to the Colombian government. Thank you to the Peacebuilding Commission delegation, Her Excellency, the permanent representative to the United Nations, Leonor Salavata, Acting Vice Minister for Multilateral Affairs, Adriana Mendoza, Director of the Unit for Implementation of the Final Agreement, Gloria Cuartas, Thomas Seneisen, Chair of the BBC Ambassador, Deputy Permanent Representative of Germany, Anna Estiliva, Ambassador, Deputy Permanent Representative of Russia, and Elizabeth Spehar, Assistant Secretary General for Peacebuilding Support, United Nations. I would like to start emphasizing the relevance of the peace agreement for the international community. Of course, this is also a very important agreement for Colombia. It has ended 50 years of war between the Colombian state and the main guerrilla group, FARC, but also for the international community. This agreement and this peace process in Colombia has been very relevant. We have to take into consideration that very few peace agreements have been signed recently between contending parties. So this is one of the few very positive examples that we have. And in addition to that, I would like to highlight the fact that within the Security Council has been unanimous support to the peace agreement and to the peace process in Colombia throughout. From the beginning, from 2016, the entire members of the Security Council have expressed unanimously support to the Colombian peace agreement. So in this regard, I think that the Colombian peace process is a very good example, is a very good practice. And we think that one of the challenges that we have in this regard is to keep Colombia in the radar of the international community. Again, this is a very good, a very important example. It's an example for other conflict contexts in other parts of the world. So to preserve and to protect this process is very key, and to keep Colombia in the international agenda, to keep Colombia in the radar is paramount importance for all of us. I would like to make also a few comments on the progress that we have made in terms of the implementation of the agreement and also in terms of the challenges that still lie ahead. Concerning progress, I would like to refer to a few issues in which the peace agreement has been quite well implemented. First, from the beginning, the disarmament of FARC, more than 10,000 former combatants were immobilized and laid down their weapons. In 2017, in a period of 3 months, this was also a very good practice within the peace process in Colombia. Secondly, I would like to refer to the rural reform, as was said before by Gloria Cuartas. This is one of the key fundamental chapters of the peace agreement, chapter 1, in fact, and implementation is going ahead. There is an increasing number of hectares being distributed and formalized, and we hope that in the coming future, this process will continue and will expand. Third, I would like also to mention the democracy strengthening as a result of the peace agreement. Electoral processes since the signing of the agreement have been more peaceful, and particularly in the countryside and in the conflict areas, population has been more able to vote thanks to the strengthening of the electoral system in those areas, which also was a result of the peace agreement. Fourth, I would like also to mention, as another example of the progress being made, the establishment of the transitional justice system. It's called HEP because of the acronym in Spanish. This is a very innovative mechanism that was included in the peace agreement, and the establishment of this jurisdiction for peace also has been a big achievement. And finally, as my 5th point, I would like to refer to the integration of former combatants. In total, around 14,000 people were demobilized 8 years ago, and most of them, the vast majority of them, are in the legality and in the reintegration process. Of course, we cannot disregard the challenges that still we are facing, and in this sense, I would like to refer still to the high level of insecurity in some areas of the country. Unfortunately, in some areas, still there is violence. One of the key problems that we have had is the killing of former combatants, not only of former combatants, also, unfortunately, the killing of social leaders, but in particularly, in terms of the former combatants, 470 of them who had laid down their weapons have been killed, and this is one of the main problems that we have faced in the implementation of the peace agreement. And all these expressions of violence in the country refer also to the difficulties of the central state to reach out the big conflict areas of Colombia. And in those areas, also one of the challenges that we face is the implementation of the illicit crop substitution, which is also another commitment of the peace agreement. I would like to finalize mentioning what we have for the next future. Colombia is approaching an electoral process, and under this context, I would like to highlight a few priorities that we face in terms of the implementation of the peace agreement. First, and again, referring to the transitional justice system, probably the first sentences will be issued quite soon, probably in the coming weeks. So implementation of these sentences will be one of the key priorities in the coming month. We have the mandate as a UN mission. We have the mandate to verify the compliance of these sentences. Secondly, and also going back to the issue of the rural reform, we hope that there will be an expansion of the rural reform and more beneficiaries will receive land and entitlements to their pieces of land. And the final point in terms of the priorities for the coming month is security. And we hope that the electoral process will be peaceful and further measures will be taken in terms of increasing the security of the population, particularly living in conflict areas. Finally, I would like to express appreciation for the visit of the Commission and emphasize the relevance of the continued international accompaniment in support of the Colombian peace process. Thank you very much.
I very much thank Mr. Basande for his comments, and I now offer the floor to our youth leader, Daniela Gonzalez. Good to have you. Daniela, the floor.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Daniela González, actualmente hago parte de la Escuela de Construcción de Paz. Quiero agradecer al Fondo de Consolidación para la Paz por el apoyo que le ha dado a la red de jóvenes. Quiero decir que la escuela es un espacio de educación, pero también es un espacio donde estamos tejiendo relaciones. No solamente se adquieren conocimientos, se sanan memorias.
First of all, good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much for letting me be part of this process. I am Daniela Gonzalez. I'm part of one of the peacebuilding schools, so I want to tell you much really about experience.
Se despierta la esperanza de un país distinto. Es un escenario donde la palabra se convierte en un puente, donde la diversidad se reconoce como riqueza y donde cada voz aporta a la construcción de un futuro.
It's a place where we create our own history, where we create a future, where we understand what has been done in the past and what is bringing us to the present.
Mi experiencia en la escuela ha sido un proceso transformador. Para mí, construir paz significa reconocer al otro. Así que escuchar y compartir historias que durante mucho tiempo fueron silenciadas son actos que se convierten en un ejercicio sanador y transformador para todos.
My path on the peacebuilding school has been deeply transformed. I understood that building peace starts by acknowledging the other, by listening and sharing histories or stories that for a long time has been silenced. The simple act of listening becomes a healing and transformative exercise for everyone.
La escuela es un espacio que nos invita a actuar de otra manera, un lugar donde aprendemos a habitar otro país, posible reconocernos desde experiencias ajenas y contarnos desde otras miradas colectivas.
The school helps us to understand ourselves from a different perspective, and at the same time to be able to see a different perspective in the others, to acknowledge that there is a different reality that we will share.
Como joven víctima del conflicto armado, estoy convencida de que necesitamos construir estos esfuerzos colectivos y que la paz no se construye desde un escritorio, se construye en los territorios, con personas comprometidas y con jóvenes que decidimos organizarnos y aprender.
As a young person that has been struck by the conflict, I know that we all together have to chip in, to do things, to do our proper work in order to strive for that peace that we are yearning for.
Los jóvenes entendemos el acuerdo de paz como una oportunidad, pero también como una responsabilidad. Este nos ofrece la oportunidad de cerrar un ciclo de violencia, pero sobre todo de abrir nuevos caminos hacia nuevas formas de convivir.
We understand that peace cannot be taken for granted. It's a construction that has to be done together. And that's something that has to take us to look for other opportunities and to look for perspectives in our endeavors in the future.
Es una responsabilidad de todos los colombianos construir un país de manera diferente, donde no solamente compartimos el mismo suelo, sino que también tenemos una historia que compartir.
It's a perspective of creating this dream together, that we are sharing this land and that we have to put all our efforts to do so.
Así que esto invita a reconocernos como parte de un país que no solo comparte un territorio, sino que compartimos una memoria en común que nos compromete a no repetir la violencia.
So we invite you to know that we share this past together, but this is asking us to avoid having this repetition of the violence in the future, to strive for that.
Entonces pienso que el acuerdo de paz es mucho más que el silencio de las armas. También es la construcción de un país basado en dignidad, en la justicia social y el respeto por la diferencia.
So peace goes beyond surrendering the weapons. It's acknowledging the differences and knowing that this is a common work for all of us.
Los informes de la Comisión de la Verdad también revelan una realidad, y es que los niños, las niñas y los jóvenes y adolescentes fueron reclutados, desplazados y silenciados. Y esa verdad nos pone una tarea, que es garantizar a las futuras generaciones que no se repitan estas historias y construirnos a partir de esto.
The reports of the Truth Commission also reveal a painful truth, that many children and young people from the poorest areas of the country were affected by the conflict. As children and teenagers were recruited, displaced and silenced by them. This truth imposes a task on us to guarantee that next generations do not repeat these histories of blood and pain that now we have to rebuild.
Creo también que los jóvenes podemos aportar desde la implementación del acuerdo de paz de diferentes maneras, defendiendo la memoria, porque este acontecimiento continúa, ya que la verdad es una construcción colectiva. También podemos...
I think that we, the young, can contribute to the implementation of the peace accord in different ways.
First, by upholding the memory, because
the issues linger on, because the truth is a collective, plural, and historical construction.
If we forget, we will repeat.
También liderando los territorios a través de proyectos culturales, ambientales y comunitarios. Quiero decir que nosotros también los jóvenes estamos transformando el futuro de este país.
Also leading in the territories through cultural, environmental and community projects that strengthen the trust and the social tissue, because we, the young people, do matter in this process.
Finalmente, nuestro aporte como generación es encarnar una nueva forma de ser colombianos, transformar los aprendizajes en caminos concretos que hagan posible un país donde se supere la violencia.
So our contribution as a generation is to rethink a new way of being Colombian, of transforming this memory into action and taking these learnings on concrete paths that make possible a country where coexistence is better than violence.
Buscamos, en últimas, la construcción de un país que nos permita vivir bien y que el acuerdo de paz no se quede solamente en un documento, sino que se convierta en una realidad viva en nuestra cotidianidad y en el futuro de Colombia, como lo estamos haciendo ahora.
So we strive for a country where we can live well, a country where we, the young, not only have a role, but the strength to make the agreement not only a document, but to make it a live reality in our daily life and in the future of Colombia.
Gracias.
Thank you so much.
Thank Ms. Gonzalez for very insightful and really moving remarks. And I also want to say thank you for your personal commitment And not only you, but your peers in your generation, paths of change, advocates for peace, and anything that you can see us and talk to us. Before we now move to statements on the floor, I would like to invite the distinguished Deputy Representative of Russian Federation, to deliver her remarks, as she's been part of our visiting team. And with that, I would love to give you the floor, Anna.
Thank you very much, Thomas. It was really a very positive, informative, and inspiring trip to Colombia. I appreciate the proposal of the chair of the Peacebuilding Commission to conduct, upon invitation of the government of Colombia, a visit to this beautiful country. We thank the Secretariat for organization of this trip, and we are grateful to the UN Verification Mission in Colombia and the funds and programs cooperating with the Peacebuilding Fund, as well as a multi-partner trust fund for their support and facilitation of the visit. But first of all, we commend the government of Colombia for their hospitality, openness, and cooperation, and for their sincere interest in interaction with the international community and the BBC in particular. Let me once again, as we did, all the members of the delegation, convene our deepest condolences to all Colombians, as well as to the families and loved ones of the victims of the recent terrorist attacks. We mourn with the families of the deceased and wish speedy recovery to those who were injured. During the trip, we noted the achievements of the government, local authorities, and signatories to the final peace agreement in its implementation. Based on the results of the visit, I'm convinced that the progress of the implementation of the agreement is tangible, undoubtedly important, and cannot be downplayed. However, Colombians have expectations that have not yet been met fully, and this concerns a number of different issues. First of all, on security part, but also and not limited to transitional justice, agrarian reform, defending the rights of vulnerable groups, including victims of the conflict, farmers, signatories to the agreement, indigenous people, and persons of African descent. But all of the Colombians that we met, all our interlocutors from these groups showed commitment for working together on implementation of the agreement and to go through the challenges together. They understand that this is a comprehensive agreement that must be implemented in its entirety. 9 years have passed, much is done, and there is no turning back. It must be implemented by the entire country and all the people of Colombia as a united state and nation. We realize that there are sensitivities and that the country is in a difficult pre-election period, but this suggests that even more diligent steps must be taken to make the outcome of the agreement irreversible. We noted also that both the mission and the support of international community was very positively and is very positively perceived by all the interlocutors who we have met during the visit. But the challenges that Colombian society faces go beyond the implementation of agreement. Extension of government control, strengthening the security sector is needed. It's also very important that the assistance provided by the Special Political Mission, the Peacebuilding Commission, and other peacebuilding actors is accompanied by humanitarian and development aid and the problems related to refugees and displaced persons are solved. In this case, the entire population could benefit from the improvement of the situation. In our view, this is the key to overcoming internal divisions and achieving true unity and prosperity of Colombia. In the end, I wanted to once again thank all colleagues who participated in the mission and made it happen. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished Deputy Permanent Representative of the Russian Federation for her remarks. And now I would like to invite members of the Commission to participate and deliver their remarks, guided by the objectives contained within the concept note and by any other comments and concerns that you may wish to address. Delegations are strongly encouraged to keep their remarks within 3 minutes, as we have only 1 hour to go, only 2 hours transition time. So we have 1 hour. I will start by giving the floor to the distinguished permanent representative of Uruguay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Permítame un saludo inicial a la señora Gloria Cuartas, a la representante de los jóvenes colombianos, así como al señor Raúl Rosende. Continue in English. Uruguay reiterates its strong support for Colombia's efforts toward the comprehensive implementation of the 2016 final peace agreement. We acknowledge the progress achieved in social inclusion, transitional justice, and the reintegration of former combatants, as well as the government's determination to elevate peace to the level of a genuine state policy. Regarding how the Commission, the Peacebuilding Commission, can further improve its support to local peace builders, we believe that the field visits, such as the present one, are a valuable tool, and particularly this one during a political campaign when the commitment of every actor is so crucial, and at a time of high expectation on accountability and the work of the Special Jurisdiction for Peace, JEP. They allow us to better understand local dynamics, visibilize progress done and challenges ahead, and to strengthen the bridge between national priorities and international cooperation. Uruguay encourages sustained engagement with communities, indigenous peoples and Afro-descendants, former combatants, women and youth, as a guarantee that policies remain inclusive and responsive to concrete realities, as well as integrating a human rights perspective. As for the role of the UN country team and verification mission, we commend their ability to effectively integrate the humanitarian, development, and peace nexus, especially vital in contexts where insecurity, inequality, and illicit economies still persist. We cannot overlook the financial challenges, and the reduction of voluntary contributions from key donors has affected the UN's work in Colombia, including support channeled through the Peacebuilding Fund and also multidimensional fund. Since every actor and institution in Colombia values the role of the UN, we ought to ensure the sustainability of this engagement. Colombia has also emerged as a partner that shares lessons with other countries through South-South cooperation, particularly in disarmament, reintegration, and transitional justice. This dual role as both recipient and provider of cooperation is a valuable contribution to the global peace agenda. Uruguay renews its commitment to continue accompanying Colombia, convinced that its democratic and peace national process shows how dialogue, inclusion, and sustained international support can positively transform a nation's history and inspire others around the world. Thank you so much. Muchísimas gracias.
I thank the distinguished permanent representative of Uruguay for her statement. Before we move on, I was told that parts of the remarks that were delivered in Spanish are not audible to everybody in the room. So be assured we will provide printouts of the statements very soon. With that said, I would like to turn to our next speaker. It's the distinguished permanent representative of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for convening this important meeting. I would also like to thank Colombia and the Peacebuilding Commission for the ongoing visit in the country. And it's been said by many, but this is a very important tool to actually translate what we say here in New York to the reality in the country. Let me structure my remarks around 3 points. Our long-standing commitment, the progress we see and support, and the challenges we must confront together. First on our commitment, and the Kingdom of the Netherlands has stood by Colombia since the outset of the 2016 peace agreement. We remain deeply engaged, politically and financially, especially in the areas of transitional justice, rural reform, reintegration and reconciliation. We are also a proud donor of the Peacebuilding Fund, including through its support to the Multi-Partner Trust Fund for Colombia. Colombia's peace is close to our hearts and close to our shores, to the Caribbean part of our kingdom. We view Colombia's success as a priority. Second, on progress and innovation, we commend the Colombian government's continued drive for peace. We see the total peace policy not as an alternative, but as a complement to the 2016 agreement addressing those armed groups still outside the peace process and still inflicting harm on communities. Within that framework, the Netherlands is actively involved in two innovative regional dialogue processes with the Comuneros del Sur and the Coordinadora Nacional Ejército Bolivariano. I'm sorry, I mind my Spanish. These efforts reflect a shifting conflict landscape, once national, now increasingly fragmented and regional. By working closer to communities and using participatory approaches, these dialogues offer promising paths to address root causes and build trust from the ground up. Third, risk and resolve. We are gravely concerned by the assassination of Senator Miguel Uribe, and a chilling reminder that political violence is not yet a thing of the past. And as Colombia prepares for elections, we call on all actors, national and international, to safeguard civic space and protect democratic processes. Looking ahead, our message remains firm. The full implementation of the 2016 peace agreement, coupled with inclusive dialogue, remains the surest path to lasting peace. And we look forward to further recommendations and possible actions flowing from this visit to intensify the work of the PBC and the PBF. And if the delegation can share more insights, that would be very welcome also during this meeting. Anyway, the Kingdom of the Netherlands will continue to walk that path alongside Colombia. Thank you.
Please unmute yourself, please.
Again? So now I know how to do it.
Go ahead.
Just a question. Can you hear me now?
No,
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I can see. Sorry, there was an interruption. I want to thank the distinguished permanent representative of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. I would now like to give the floor to the deputy permanent representative of Poland, who was also on our trip to Colombia. So, have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And it's good to see both the UN team and the colleagues from Colombia on the ground. It almost seems like I'm still with you physically. But in that context, I will go off script, if you will, and ignore the prepared statement that I've had. And focus just on a few points stemming from our joint experience, an excellent experience of the last few days in Colombia. And with that, I need to start with welcoming and appreciation to Colombian authorities and representatives for the progress that Colombia is making with the implementation of the 2016 final peace agreement. What we have known even before and what we have understood better on the ground is I think I will use the word pride that should accompany both authorities and all other members of, be it civil society, peace signatories, and victims, in their dedication and a strong commitment to make the peace agreement's implementation work even better than it is now. And it is true, we come to realize it often, that peace is not a point in time, it's a process. And it is clear that Colombia, also in that respect, can be a model to provide immensely useful lessons learned and identified for others in terms of how to build peace through dialogue. While this is understandable that Colombia still faces challenges to this process, both in regard to external factors and the time it takes, the reconciliation takes on the ground, it is certainly vital that it is a two-way street. And while Colombia, with their experience and their examples, can help us, the international community here in New York, particularly in the PBC, to help others better, at the same time, Colombia deserves our full support on its way towards peace. And I think without prejudging the shape of the PBC's chair summary of the visit, I'm gonna take a leap of faith here and say that this would be one of the recommendations, that the UN mission in Colombia, the respective UN agencies, and obviously the PBC stands to continue to support all actors, all relevant actors in Colombia in implementing the peace accord. And this is perhaps the best example of, or one of the best examples of synergy in our work that you can really find with a meaningful impact on the ground. And this will be my last point, Mr. Chair, which is the appreciation of not only the PBC work overall and the commitment of PBSO and ASG SPEHA to our work, including in Colombia, but also the unique role and the way that the PBF is managed and is able to make a difference despite being, in the UN terms or UN budgetary terms, such a small, in terms of numbers, mechanisms. I think the visit proved to us once again that this is a tool that we should all invest in even more. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and best greetings to colleagues in Colombia.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Michael, for the statement. That completes the impression from the delegation. And we would move on to the next delegation, which is the distinguished Deputy Permanent Representative of Brazil. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Distinguidas autoridades colombianas, colleagues both in New York and Bogota, I express Brazil's sincere gratitude to the government and people of Colombia for the warm welcome extended to the Commission and for the transparency with which they shared the progress and remaining challenges of their peace agenda. Brazil was represented in this mission by our ambassador to Bogota, Paulo Estivalé de Mesquita. We especially valued the meetings held with the Colombian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, government representatives, the entities responsible for the implementation of the 2016 peace agreement, as well as with the signatories of the agreement. The interactions confirmed the vitality and resilience of the Colombian process, as well as the determination of the different actors to continue advancing toward a lasting peace. Colombia's experience remains highly relevant to the international community, as it combines national efforts for peace and security with the active support by the Security Council and the PBC. In this regard, we commend the firm decision by the Colombian government to adopt peace as a state policy, reflected in the vision of total peace and in the comprehensive implementation of the 2016 agreement. We also recognize the importance of addressing the root causes of the conflict, including social inequality, territorial marginalization, and illicit economies that still affect several regions. Throughout the visit, it became quite clear that the participation of women, youth, indigenous peoples, Afro-descendant communities, and other traditionally marginalized groups is an indispensable condition for peace to be inclusive and sustainable. Brazil commends Colombia for the presentation of its first National Action Plan on Women, Peace, and Security, and underscores the importance of strengthening the protection of social leaders and former combatants. The visit further highlighted the importance of the reunification mission and of the resident coordinator alongside local peace builders. They are responsible for closely supporting efforts to prevent violence and promote peace, always in full respect for national priorities. Field visits, such as the one just carried out in Colombia, contribute to strengthening the PBC and to advancing peace-building objectives, including transitional justice, reintegration, and reforms. I also underline the fundamental role of the Peacebuilding Fund. Projects financed by the PBF, such as the Nature for Peace initiative, demonstrate how it is possible and desirable to link development, reconciliation, and environmental sustainability. Likewise, we welcome the South-South cooperation efforts led by Colombia, which allow for the sharing of lessons learned with other countries in post-conflict situations. Mr. Chair, the PBC visit confirmed the great value of our collective work to provide political, technical, and financial support to a process that belongs, above all, to Colombians themselves. Brazil reiterates its firm and enduring commitment to continue supporting Colombia in building an inclusive, transformative, and sustainable peace. I thank you very much.
I thank the Distinguished Deputy Permanent Representative of Brazil for his statement, and I give the floor to the representative of the United Kingdom.
Thank you, Chair, for convening this meeting and to our briefers for their insightful remarks. I was very sorry not to be able to participate in the recent mission, but pleased that the UK was represented through our embassy in Bogota. The United Kingdom commends Colombia's continued commitment to building and sustaining an inclusive peace. Through sustained engagement, Colombia remains a model for delivering peace-building impact, anchored in inclusive national ownership, supported by coherent UN engagement, and strengthened by international solidarity. In this regard, we welcome the fact that the BBC delegation was able to meet with state entities, women's organizations, and signatories to the 2016 peace agreement. The PBC plays an important convening role in country, as demonstrated by its high-level engagement with the Government of Colombia, the Special Jurisdiction for Peace, and with civil society. As we face growing financial pressures, it's vital that Peacebuilding Fund resources are used where they can have greatest impact. We commend the fund's flexible support in Colombia, over $6 million since 2014, to enable reintegration, rural development, and reparations, helping communities affected by conflict take an active role in shaping peace. To maximize this impact, we encourage sharper prioritization on the most proximate drivers of conflict, while maintaining responsive approaches that reflect local realities. Through the 2016 peace agreement, Colombia has made important strides on the path to sustainable peace. We urge the government to prioritize accelerated implementation of the agreement, which will benefit those disproportionately affected by decades of the conflict. We also welcome the first sentences of the Special Jurisdiction for Peace due in September, which are important for reconciliation. Those responsible for the most serious human rights violations carried out during the conflict must be held to account. Finally, Chair, in our role as pen holder on the Colombia file at the Security Council, we remain committed to supporting the full implementation of the 2016 peace agreement and supporting lasting peace in Colombia. The UK will continue to champion inclusive, victim-centered, and locally owned approaches to peace-building efforts, ensuring the meaningful participation of women, civil society, and marginalized groups. These principles must remain central to our collective efforts in Colombia and beyond. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the United Kingdom, and I give the floor to the distinguished deputy permanent representative of Norway.
Thank you, Chair, for convening this very timely and important meeting, and not the least thanks to you and your team and the Colombian government and the UN family, both on the ground and from headquarters, in enabling and organizing the visit. I therefore regret that I personally was not able to join you, but meanwhile very happy to join you on the screen now. Let me begin by commending Colombia for continuously engaging with the PBC and for sharing lessons learned from its inclusive national and territorial peace-building and prevention efforts. As a guarantor country for the 2016 peace accord, Norway reiterates the fundamental importance of protecting the architecture of the agreement and ensuring its full implementation. Continued progress in the implementation of the peace agreement hinges on effective peace building and conflict prevention efforts to ensure that there is no backsliding into conflict. The forthcoming restorative sentences of the Special Jurisdiction for Peace will be scrutinized by all parties involved. The legitimacy and also the legacy of the peace accord largely depend upon these sentences being issued in a timely manner and in a way that is consistent with the spirit of the accord. Chair, the Multi-Partner Trust Fund for Peace in Colombia and also the UN Peacebuilding Fund continues to be vital mechanisms for financing peacebuilding and prevention efforts in Colombia. It is therefore imperative that we, the member states, continue to ensure sustainable and predictable funding for those mechanisms, as peace is still fragile. The UN country team and the verification mission, in partnership with government as well as international, national and local NGOs and the civil society organizations, are also vital, important as implementers of peace-building activities on the ground. Chair, the full, equal and meaningful inclusion of women and of ethnic communities in all efforts for peace is, as always, a prerequisite for both sustainability and stability. We thank the Colombian government for their strong commitment to peace-building efforts and for their continued participation at the highest level in the PBC. Demonstrates, therefore, its genuine wish to achieving lasting peace. And you can make sure that you have us with you in that endeavor. At the end, Chair, just allow me to ask one question that I hope is relevant to all the briefers as well. Given Colombia's complex and evolving conflict dynamics, how can we best make sure that peace-building strategies remain both adaptive and locally relevant, while we at the same time align with long-term national agenda for peace? Thank you.
I think the distinguished deputy permanent representative of Norway, and I give the floor to the distinguished deputy representative of South Africa.
Chairperson, thank you for organizing this meeting of the Peacebuilding Commission on Colombia, thus affording us the opportunity to interact with the various stakeholders in Colombia. We appreciate the continued engagement with Colombia, which demonstrates the value of nationally owned and nationally led peacebuilding processes. We thank the various institutions and organizations represented here today and commend their commitment to building stability and security in their country. Chairperson, the last interaction with Colombia highlighted numerous areas where concrete progress had been made, but also some challenges that remained. In this regard, we are pleased with the continued implementation of the final agreement for ending the conflict and building a stable and lasting peace. However, the persistent violence in some regions remains a concern. We call for peaceful settlement of any disputes among parties and commend the concerted commitment of the government and people of Colombia to dialogue as a means to achieve peace, development, and stability across the country. We welcome the progress made in the reintegration of former combatants. We are particularly pleased with the efforts of the government to provide housing as well as educational opportunities in order to foster better futures and livelihoods for them and their children, while noting that financial constraints continue to impede greater progress to this end. In terms of access to land, including for peasants, indigenous, and Afro-Colombian communities and rural women, we commend notable developments that the government has registered to date. We encourage collaborative efforts with ethnic, indigenous, and Afro-Colombians through their own structures for advancing conflict resolution, social cohesion, their values, and their traditional practices that have stood them in good stead over the years, thus benefiting the government. We are of the view that the exchanges with peasant and indigenous communities, as well as Afro-Colombians, on their experiences pertaining to access to land would facilitate the tailoring of development programs for various communities based on their needs, as well as the operational environment, including progress on demining activities. The UN country teams have a significant role to play in terms of consultation with the affected communities, managing expectations, ensuring their consent for specific projects, project planning, and advocating for resources to address identified needs. The innovative funding through the allocation of royalties from the hydrocarbon exploitation and the fostering of public-private partnership to fund development programs with a territorial focus is a welcome development. Notwithstanding this, we remain supportive of the contribution of the Peacebuilding Fund in the peacebuilding efforts in Colombia. Finally, Chairperson, we encourage the government and all stakeholders to continue the progress of accountability through the transitional justice mechanisms that are being implemented. South Africa commends the foundations for peace and stability in Colombia that's being built brick by brick, and encourage the government and all stakeholders to continue those efforts with the support of the international community as appropriate. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of South Africa for his remarks, and I give the floor to the distinguished deputy representative, permanent representative of Japan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Colombian government for organizing this important event from Bogota. I would also like to thank all the briefers for their valuable insights. Japan welcomes Colombia's continued commitment to the implementation of the peace agreement. We deeply deplore the killing of Senator Miguel Uribe Turbay, and we strongly condemn all forms of political violence as they threaten the democratic values and the foundation of peace. Today, I would like to highlight two key aspects of the PBC's role in contributing to Colombia's peace efforts. First, the PBC is uniquely positioned at the core of the United Nations peace-building architecture. The PBC should continue to support ensuring the HDP nexus in facilitating a smooth transition from conflict to sustainable peace and development. Last June, the UN country team and the Colombian government signed the UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework for 2024 to 2027, which highlighted the role development plays in addressing the root causes of violence. With the support of the Peacebuilding Fund, the UNCT and UN Verification Peace in Colombia play a role in supporting the negotiations between armed actors. Building on these examples and Colombia's continued engagement with the PBC, it would be valuable to convene a meeting on challenges and good practices in Colombia regarding the HDP nexus. Second, the PBC has strongly convening power to gather knowledge and wisdom. It is essential to fully harness this power in formulating its advice to the Security Council. The PBC is well positioned to deliver informed and context-specific recommendations grounded in its long-standing partnership with Colombia, demonstrated by this field visit. Last October, PBC's advice was taken note of in the Council's resolution renewing the UN verification mission's mandate. In the future, integrating evidence-based insights from the UNCT and local peace builders would give the PBC's advice even greater value and relevance. It is thus essential that relevant parties, including the PBC chair, the informal coordinator between the two bodies and president and the pen holder of the Security Council, coordinate early enough to ensure sufficient time to consult with local actors. In closing, Japan reaffirms our continued commitment and support towards sustainable peace in Colombia. Thank you.
I think the distinguished deputy permanent representative of Japan for its statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for organizing this meeting. And I also wish to thank the briefers for sharing your valuable insights directly from the field in Bogota. Mr. Chair, I would like to begin by welcoming Colombia's continued engagement with the Peacebuilding Commission, including the visit this week, which provides an opportunity to observe progress and support efforts to address challenges on Colombia's pathway to building and sustaining peace. We commend the notable progress made by the Colombian government in implementing the final peace agreement, addressing both the root causes and consequences of decades of conflict. However, as recent events in the country demonstrate, violence, particularly in conflict-affected areas, remains of grave concern. Mr. Chair, a comprehensive and inclusive approach is essential for achieving sustainable peace in Colombia, one that also requires the participation of indigenous and Afro-Colombian communities, former combatants, social leaders, women, and human rights defenders in the processes of building and sustaining peace. The brunt of insecurity borne by these groups remains a serious concern that must be addressed effectively. To this end, we welcome the range of projects supported by the Peacebuilding Fund that contribute to this goal, including efforts to strengthen indigenous institutions as a foundation for long-term reconciliation. Finally, Mr. Chair, I would like to underscore the remarkable resolve of the Colombian people to achieve lasting peace, even in the face of adversity. Indeed, Colombia's efforts to consolidate peace over the years continue to offer the international community valuable knowledge and experience in peace building. Allow me to reaffirm Slovenia's full commitment to maintaining its support to Colombia going forward. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished deputy permanent representative of Slovenia for her remarks, and I give the floor to the distinguished deputy permanent representative.
Mr. Chair,
Allow me at the outset to thank you for convening this timely and important meeting on Colombia. We also commend the participation of Mrs. Elizabeth Speja and all the distinguished briefers for their remarks. Marruecos reconoce el firme compromiso de Colombia con la paz and reconciliation. So Morocco acknowledged Colombia's unwavering commitment to peace and reconciliation. So this is just a general important sentence at the beginning. 9 years after the historic 2016 final peace agreement, Colombia continues to demonstrate that sustainable peace is possible. Sustainable peace entails the presence of justice, opportunity, and hope for all citizens, and this is what we are noticing and seeing in the case of Colombia. We identify in Colombia's journey a fundamental truth, which is the following: that lasting peace must be built from the ground up, with the active participation of all communities. Colombia's recognition of indigenous people, Afro-descendant communities, and ethnic groups as pillars of peace building is noteworthy. Their traditional knowledge systems, conflict resolution mechanisms, and cultural practices remain assets to embrace. The quote-unquote from Colombia to the world is a program that exemplifies the kind of South-South cooperation that Morocco can adhere to and support. When countries share their experience and success stories, they create a global shared wisdom that strengthens all of us. Mr. Chair, we take note of Colombia's progress in strengthening security and innovative approaches that harmonize sustainable development with environmental stewardship. We welcome how the administration of His Excellency's President Gustavo Petro has elevated peace to the level of a state policy, demonstrating institutional commitment that transcends electoral cycles and reflects Colombia's clear nation vision and commitment to inclusive peace. We also support Colombia's strategic investment in rural communities, youth and women empowerment, and accessible justice. I might have to repeat the last sentence. For technical reason, we lost the screen for a moment, but now it's back. So we also support Colombia's strategic investment in rural communities, youth and women empowerment, and access to justice. The peace-building PBF substantial investment in Colombia since 2014 exemplifies how international support can amplify national leadership. Through the UN Multi-Donor Trust Fund for Sustainable Peace in Colombia, this strategic partnership channels resources directly to priorities established in Colombia's biannual investment plans, building up in the 2016 final peace agreement and enabling the UN system to support the fulfillment of the agreement's transformative commitments. The PBC has walked alongside Colombia throughout this positive journey, ensuring the international community remains focused on Colombia's peace priorities. As we are now entering the crucial second half of the 15 years implementation program, keeping this momentum alive will depend on all the stakeholders' unwavering support and our Commission's continued partnership. To conclude, Mr. Chair, Morocco reaffirms our steadfast support for Colombia's peace-building efforts. Colombia's story reminds us that peace is possible, even after decades of conflict. It proves that reconciliation can triumph over division. Most importantly, it shows us that when a nation commits to peace with genuine determination, the entire international community must stand behind it. I thank you very much.
Thank you, distinguished Deputy Government Representative of Morocco, for a statement. And I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of India.
Mr. Chair, I thank you for convening this important meeting. The format of today's meeting reflects Peacebuilding Commission's flexible approach in supporting member states. We thank the briefers for their remarks. At the outset, we convey our appreciation to PBC Chair Germany and host government Colombia for facilitating the field visit and organizing interaction with relevant stakeholders. The visit reaffirms a larger commitment to supporting the Colombian government's peace-building priorities. Mr. Chair, India welcomes the updates provided by Government of Colombia. My delegation recognizes Colombia's whole-of-society approach in pursuit of peace. We also welcome their continued engagement with PBC. These jointly underscore Government of Colombia's commitment to peace and development. There can be no quick gains in the realm of peace building. Sustainable peace requires inter alia, institution building, and capacity development. This calls for long-term commitment of the international community to supporting national priorities. National ownership and leadership must continue to guide all peace-building initiatives. We look forward to receiving the learning points from the field visit, particularly on the role of resident coordinator and the UN country team in enhancing the effectiveness of PBC's engagement with the host government as regards the latter's peace-building priorities. India supports enhanced and flexible funding for peace-building projects in Colombia. We encourage additional efforts from PBC in mobilizing resources through IFIs and regional development banks. We also recognize the importance of South-South cooperation on this front. In conclusion, India emphasizes that we will continue to be a force multiplier in all peace-building efforts. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, distinguished Ambassador of India, for his statement, and I give the floor to the distinguished Deputy Government Representative of Australia.
Thank you, Chair. Australia welcomes Colombia's invitation for the PBC Bureau to participate in a country visit to see firsthand how the UN is supporting Colombia's journey towards sustainable peace. We thank the briefers for their presentations. There are many features of Colombia's journey which should be highlighted as best practice. First, Colombia's peace process is globally significant for its gender-responsive approach. We commend Colombia's leadership in advancing the women, peace and security agenda. As we've learnt today, this inclusive approach is being expanded to identify new ways to include Indigenous and traditional practices as a protective factor against violence and conflict. Second, we welcome Colombia's landmark 2016 final peace agreement as an example of conflict resolution through dialogue, reconciliation and structural transformation. We welcome all efforts towards a genuine whole-of-society commitment to the pursuit of peace. Third, we note UN and international support for Colombia's peace process as a laboratory for peace. We see the combined expertise of the Peacebuilding Commission, Peacebuilding Fund, UN Verification Mission in Colombia, civil society and peace signatories, and development agencies working well together in this context. But Colombia's journey also reminds us peace is complex, can be elusive, and is a long-term process. We know that for peace to be truly durable, it must be built by and for all of society. As Colombia begins the second half of the 15-year timeline for implementation of the 2016 agreement, we must be realistic about the challenges so far. We welcome reflections from Colombia and the UN system on the root causes of recent violence and what additional actions could help address community divisions. Australia remains committed to supporting Colombia's long-standing efforts to build a just, inclusive and lasting peace. We thank Colombia for this initiative and we look forward to continuing to support your journey. Thank you.
think the distinguished permanent representative of Australia are struggling with the technique. And for her statement, and I give the floor to the distinguished representative of the United States.
Great. Thank you so much, Thomas, Ambassador Bridgen, for convening today's discussion on Colombia. Thank you also to Mr. Raul Rosende, Deputy Special Representative of the Secretary General and Officer in charge of the UN Verification Mission, as well as Assistant Secretary General Spehar, and to today's briefers for their presentations. The United States continues to support peace and stability in Colombia. However, Colombia's current path to peace faces critical obstacles. In particular, the failure to provide adequate security, justice, and government services to victims of decades of deadly terrorism undermines the potential to achieve lasting peace. At the same time, the United States remains concerned about increasing violence, rising cocaine production, and impunity for drug traffickers and terrorists. The recent terrorist attacks by armed groups are emblematic of Colombia's deteriorating security. The Petro administration's disorganized rush to negotiate with a multitude of these armed groups created perverse incentives to ramp up their violence and has yielded no tangible results for the Colombian people. We look forward to engaging in the Security Council negotiations on the verification mission mandate ahead of its expiration at the end of October. Thank you.
Thank you, the distinguished representative of the United States for his statement. And I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Nepal.
Mr. Chair of Peacebuilding Commission, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Chair, for convening this important meeting in a hybrid format. I also commend Mr. Chair and his able team for undertaking a mission-driven visit to take stocks on Colombia's peacebuilding process. We extend profound gratitude to the esteemed briefers for their insightful briefings on various aspects related to the implementation of Colombia's peace agreement. The 2016 final peace agreement marked a turning point towards enduring peace, reconstruction, and reconciliation in Colombia. As an ardent champion of global peace and development, Nepal stands in solidarity with the government and people of Colombia for a successful conclusion of the peace process. We are happy to see substantial progress Colombia has made in critical aspects of the peace process, namely land distribution, social inclusion, reintegration of former combatants, and many more. The consistent support of the Peacebuilding Commission and the international community remains crucial to conclude outstanding issues of the peace process, such as transitional justice and inclusive participation of marginalized communities in governance. Mr. Chair and Excellencies, Nepal emphasizes the centrality of national ownership in building and sustaining peace. Our peace process has shown that when countries lead their own transitions, supported by the international community, the prospects for lasting peace are stronger. We reaffirm that conflict prevention and resolution must address the root causes of conflict. Sustainable development and peace building are interdependent and mutually reinforcing. We share a view that lasting peace and stability in the world continues to evade us unless socio-economic challenges are addressed in a meaningful way. Mr. Chair, dear friends, Colombia is passing through a pivotal moment at its peace process. We believe that this visit is yet another opportunity to engage with diverse stakeholders, identify major challenges, and chart out coordinated paths to lead the peace process to positive outcomes. As such, we are looking forward to the final report of the visit with actionable recommendations. On this backdrop, I wish to put forth a query as follows. We would like to know more from the Commission on how coordination and coherence between and among different UN bodies at work in Colombia, such as the UN Verification Mission and the UN team, is maintained. In closing, Nepal reaffirms its full support to Colombia in its peace process and peacebuilding efforts. We look forward to a successful conclusion of Colombia's nationally led and internationally supported peace process ahead. Thank you.
I think the distinguished representative in the floor for his statement, and I give the floor to the distinguished representative first, which would conclude our list. So,
thank you very much, Chair, for organizing this briefing. And we wish that interpretation in all official language could be available for such important meetings. Thank you also to the briefers for their presentation, and thank you to Colombia for hosting this visit and for the exercise of transparency that is thus demonstrated. So the process in Colombia, initiated by the 2016 peace agreement, is a model for crisis resolution. The progress achieved in this framework is to be applauded thanks to the shared willingness of the parties and the support provided by the Security Council, the Peacebuilding Commission, and the Peacebuilding Fund. This international support must be preserved and must go hand in hand with the accelerated implementation of the 2016 peace agreement. This is necessary for the Colombian government's political will to be reflected in tangible results for the population. I would like to mention 3 areas of effort that have also been discussed throughout this visit. First, respect for human rights and protection of populations against violence. Armed groups must cease their violent actions, and the Colombian government's effort to protect former combatants, social leaders, indigenous persons, and the communities most affected need to be supported. Second, transitional justice. Progress has been made by the Special Jurisdiction for Peace in establishing the truth and the establishment of accountabilities. We call for dialogue between the parties to enable this process to move forward. And thirdly, rural reform. Land adjudication and formalization must continue, and this requires allocating the necessary resources and improving interinstitutional cooperation. France, as a supporting country of this chapter of the peace process, will continue to support Colombia in this endeavor. So to conclude, the Colombian government must be supported to build upon the progress achieved. Through its bilateral relationship with the Colombian people and its membership of the Security Council and the Peacebuilding Commission, France will continue to remain mobilized to helping bring about lasting peace in Colombia. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative for his statement, and thanks to all of you for your very concise and thoughtful interventions. We have now about 8 minutes left. There are a couple of questions addressed. One I can probably answer from the Netherlands on the follow-up of this visit. I think it will be twofold. We will have an expert level peacebuilding meeting that will be scheduled for the next week, I guess. Let's keep it very soon. And the second question, which was also referred to by a couple of you in India, I heard also this morning by Foreign Minister of Colombia, is a summary. The answer is yes, there will be one. And there was a very specific question by the colleague, Norwegian colleague from Andreas, on the alignment in the peacebuilding priorities of the national strategy. So I would revert back to Director Quantas to give us a short answer on that, and maybe because we run out of time, if there's a long answer, maybe we can provide it.
Agradezco profundamente a cada una y cada uno de los representantes, Uruguay, Reino Unido, Países Bajos, Colombia, Brasil, Noruega, Sudáfrica, Japón, Eslovenia, Marruecos, India, Australia, Estados Unidos, Nepal, Francia.
First of all, I want to thank all the representatives, our friends from the different countries, Uruguay, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Brazil, Norway, South Africa, Japan, Slovenia, India, Australia, Morocco, United States, Nepal, and France for being with us today.
Y a Noruega, con su pregunta, tenemos todo el trabajo realizado en Colombia. Lo primero es fortalecer el sistema integral de seguridad para el ejercicio de la política, que implica trabajar fuertemente para superar la impunidad y lograr proteger la vida de las y los firmantes de paz.
First of all, we have our justice framework that has to be strengthened in order to be able to secure, to guarantee the safety of the different members, different participants in the process.
Fundamentalmente, nuestra estrategia de trabajo territorial nos ha permitido, y ahí tenemos el desafío de seguir profundizando el trabajo con las autoridades departamentales, municipales y organizaciones comunitarias.
Our strategy has allowed us to strengthen our participation and our work with regional authorities, local authorities, and also with different communities.
Fortalecer nuestras comunicaciones para la paz, es decir, trabajar para llegar a quienes aún no están convencidos de la bondad y el deber de paz como prerequisito para fortalecer la democracia.
That means strengthening our commitment with peace. That means strengthening, providing different tools, different alternatives, and information to know that peace is essential to be able to proceed with our process.
Y finalmente, decir que estando con la Comisión de Paz y con todos los países participantes, podemos trabajar una geografía de la esperanza que muestre los trabajos territoriales en la contribución para la paz en el mundo.
And being with these different multilateral entities, we can create a geography of peace that can help us to have our voice and to have our message extended around the world.
Thank you very much, Director Patas, for this very thoughtful remark. And with that, I will hand over to Secretary Chairman Speha for her comments.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm very mindful of the time, and I've been reminded also of the time, so I need to be very concise. A lot has already been said, so I will very quickly, first of all, extend also my sincere thanks to the Colombian government for the invitation to the peace, all the incredible support, preparations, and so forth, and in particular for their ongoing commitment to peace in this country. Also, extend my thanks to the verification mission and to the UN country team, including my dear colleague to the right, the OIC President Coordinator, because they also contributed very substantively to this visit. And of course, we did excellent work on the ground, which we have heard from all of our interlocutors. There's no time to add anything further on what our impressions from the visit. Obviously, agree with everything that was said. I would maybe just want to underscore one thing, and that is, I believe that all how deeply impressed we were with the resilience of the Colombians who have been directly affected by this conflict, because we spoke to a number of them. Again, the progress and commitment to the government, and also of an increasingly vibrant civil society in this country. Incredibly important. Then just to say, in terms of the PDC, as the chair mentioned, there will be an expert level meeting up on this visit, which I think will give members an opportunity to really leverage this visit to see what more the PDC contribute in terms of keeping as our SRSG at interim of the verification and commission mentioned, keeping a spotlight of the international community and solidarity with Colombia as firm as possible. As you mentioned earlier, with conflicts raging around the world, we cannot take it for granted that Colombia will continue to have this level of support and attention. There, it's extremely important that the Commission can work out with the government what are your peace-building priorities that the PDC can help with for the basis of that longer-term peace-building perspective. And then related to that, PDC does remain a very important platform, as many of you have mentioned, for cooperation. Colombia, despite the ongoing challenges, has an incredible amount of innovative practices and experiences to share. And again, the PDC can help in that respect as well as it already has. So I'm sure that's something that PDC further discuss. And finally, in terms of the support, I am now speaking as head of the office of DPPA and as managers of the fund. Renew our commitment to work very closely with government, obviously, other actors here, certainly with the verification mission, and also very much in lockstep and in cooperation with the country team, who are our major implementers in support of Colombia, in order to continue to help advance this process. We have our commitment on that, despite the very difficult current financial environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are really swapping microphones here. This concludes the contribution from Bogota. This was an experiment, a hybrid meeting. I think if we had a couple of minor hiccups, but I think we did well. Many thanks to our colleagues in New York for joining us. I once again want to thank our friends from Colombia for making this trip, this meeting possible. And very much appreciate the hospitality we received, and it's a truly deep and effective partnership between us, the Peacebuilding Commission, and Colombia that needs to be continued. With that, I will not repeat anything that has been said by others, except that the session will adjourn and we will follow up very deeply on what we said in due course. Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Made it. Wow, 11:01. Bravo. Bravo. What excellent chairpersonship. 11:01.
you.